Hello and welcome to MB Tech. My name is Matt Bingham and we're going to continue working on this HomeLab setup. And what steps we're going to do now is we're actually going to set up the DHCP server. The DHCP server will be used to configure IP addresses for the rest of the systems that we're going to build. Initially we're not going to have any leases built into the DHCP configuration, but once we set up those boxes in VirtualBox and get their MAC addresses, then we'll be setting those up into the system itself. So if you would just log into the system. I know I had my IP addresses and they're in the web page and they show the IP addresses of my boxes, so we're just going to SSH into those, and mine's 10.11.1.5, and you'll be doing the password that you did when you first set up the box. And that's where we'll start from. Install the DHCP package, so it's yum install DHCP. Okay, DHCP package has been installed. Now we're going to do a system enable DHCP D. Now it's set to be enabled. We have not started it yet, but that's nothing major. We can start that a little bit later, but we got to get a configuration file, so it's pretty much not worth setting up yet, but we just want to make sure that it can start up on boot after we get it configured properly. Next, we're going to open a firewall for port 67 for DHCP traffic. Okay, that port has now been added, so that now that we can actually set up and get the DHCP server running. But first we need to create a master DHCP conf configuration file. That is going to be located in the etc DHCP dhcpd.conf, and we'll put a configuration in there. Okay, first we're going to allow here is be authoritative, and then we're going to allow booting, allow boot TP, and then our next server. This is going to be important. This is going to be our TFTP server, and it's going to be the Catello server that we're going to be setting up. I think that's going to be next, actually. No, actually LDAP's first, and then we'll do the Catello. But anyways, from that server, that's where our Pixie boot will happen. And basically Pixie boot is a network type boot, so it'll boot up from the network, it'll find the Catello server, it'll download the files that it needs, and it'll start installing the Linux box automatically pretty much. So we have that. We have a lease time of 1 day, maximum lease time of 1 day. We have dynamic DNS update style is interim. We have update static leases on, and 1 lease per client on. Also going to be using the random key that we created earlier. And we also have the zone. So the zone that's going to be created here is 1.11.10.inarpa. That's the reverse DNS. Primary is 10.11.1.5. Key that is the random RNDC key. Next zone is the binglab.local, and that's the primary again is a 10.1.5 and same key. So we can see what the subnet is, what the net mask is, broadcast address, as well as the option of the router, which is your default gateway. Next is the option of the domain name server, which is going to be DNS1 binglab.local, and then our option for the domain search is going to be binglab.local as well. And this will automatically populate the systems that are set up for DHCP, so they'll automatically get an IP address, and then they'll actually be set up specifically for that. We're going to be getting into this file again later on. Once we get the MAC addresses for our VMs, we're going to take those MAC addresses and we're actually going to append them to this file. Therefore, it'll set a static IP address, basically, or a DHCP lease, if you will, for that server, and therefore that they'll have the same proper name and the proper IP address. You can write and quit to get out of here, so it is the :WQ, so write and quit. We're also going to have to change the permissions on the configuration as well, so that's the change mod. Okay, now that the configuration file is coming back clean, except for the LDAP, which was not specified, so that's expected, we can do a system control, restart, DHCP. And once we're done with that, we can actually do a tail. Okay, that concludes the setup of the DHCP server. Next we'll be setting up the NTP server on this same box, and once we're finished with that, we'll continue building out the HomeLab to get the other parts in there, the LDAP servers as well as the Catello server as well for the integrated builds. So if you would, please like, subscribe, comment, tell me how I'm doing, what you'd like to see, what you'd like to see differently, and you know, any comments are much appreciated. Thank you and have a good night.